Are y'all ready to head off the trails? I'm the cryptid huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do, y'all. We would really appreciate the love. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that amazing intro music. We really appreciate it. You guys be sure to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You can find me on my website, thecryptidhuntress.com. And please, y'all, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. You can find my shop, War Woman Goods, on Etsy, and you can also find that on my website in the shop link. Okay. I have a fantastic guest here with us tonight. I have Daniel Benoit in the studio, but don't forget, right after this show, After Hours has a really awesome program set up for you tonight. So let's get to our guest. Daniel Benoit has turned his love for the outdoors and having a curiosity in Bigfoot into the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization, or E.C.B.R.O. for short. He's conducted fieldwork in several deep remote locations all along the East Coast and particularly in his home state of Virginia. Daniel speaks at events across the East Coast and has been featured on the Bigfoot documentary Elusive Legend, an E.C.B.R.O. story. He hosts a podcast called E.C.B.R.O. Bigfoot Radio, and he's also an author of Bigfoot Research Field Guides and has his own YouTube channel called Bigfoot Zone, in parentheses, E.C.B.R.O. He decided to start the E.C.B.R.O. to only not develop a strong community of researchers, but to also educate and bring awareness to everyone, because everyone deserves to know the truth and to learn what is out there. I totally agree with that. And so I'd like for everybody to welcome to the show, Mr. Daniel Benoit. Hey, Daniel, welcome to Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
I am so excited you're here. I cannot wait to hear about your research up in Virginia. You know, I'm over here on the East Coast too, but I'm a little farther south. I haven't done a whole lot of research up in Virginia. So tell me about it a little bit.
Yeah, first of all, Bigfoot doesn't discriminate his location. I mean,
right.
he's making his rounds up and down the East Coast here, and especially with the Blue Ridge Mountains, and not to mention possible travel routes for the Appalachian Trail. So that
man,
way all the way up to Maine. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Virginia is, in my opinion, it's probably very well underestimated. Just like I think the rest of the East Coast. I want to speak for the whole East Coast, really, not just Virginia. But when I say underestimated, especially for the terrain, the habitat, the ecology, and so much more.
Oh yeah.
People's like, how could we have Bigfoots here on the East Coast? When the West Coast, the North, more specifically the Pacific Northwest, gets all the credit for having Bigfoot reports. There's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more happening here than people realize. Reports are becoming more popular out this way. So we definitely have Bigfoots here. It's funny I'm saying Bigfoots plural when more Sasquatch is more to me more of a plural term for that. But however, so Bigfoots, I'll say.
People get so confused and they're like, well, they're afraid to say Bigfoots because it doesn't sound grammatically correct.
Right.
But I say screw it. I say Bigfoots.
Yeah. I got some friends for fun. They like to say big feets.
Big feets. I mean, you know what? I think anybody can say whatever they want. And I know some people even get upset if you say Bigfoot. They think it should be Sasquatch. So, I used to be a little more careful about what I said, but now I've always said Bigfoot. So it's okay. We're safe here saying Bigfoot.
Natively speaking, Sasquatch would be a good term, but there's so many different names of terms according to tribal legends and whatnot. So, I mean, it's like me and you. I mean, we're not going to have the same names unless you're my girlfriend.
Right. Oh, that's right. Your girlfriend is named Jessica. So shout out to the Jessicas out there. Shout out to your girlfriend. I like that name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She may or may not be watching. She's very busy. She's just finished getting her new website up, and she's got some other work she's working on. So she's very,
and she's a cryptid hunter as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She goes out with me when she can. because she does a lot of work for her family business. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome. Hey, the friends and families that Sasquatch and Bigfoot together stay together. Okay.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's
So
awesome. Now, do you have a team? I mean, E.C.B.R.O, is that you mostly, or is it a network of people? I mean, how does that work?
well, just here in Virginia alone, yes, I'm the founder. However, there is
Mhm.
a few other. When I say a few, we're talking probably within 10 to 12 people
Yeah.
on the team. But there's more to be more down, narrow it down. There's actually maybe four that are more active with it than anything.
Yeah.
Now I do organize outings where everybody likes to get together and participate for the camping outings, the exploring, and so forth. But there is others outside of the state here that do represent, and you know, I do consider team members as well. So
Yeah.
we're
It's good to
slowly
have
growing.
a little core group of people, and because
Right.
some people are more dedicated than others. You can have a team full of people with a lot of people, but there's always going to be that core, like at least two or three that are always out on the excursions.
I mean, I
Am
can
I,
tell
am
you
I
there's,
right?
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's more active online because like people like me, we have jobs, we got to work for a living. So some people, depending on their job, they don't always have the time. Between
True.
jobs and family. So I understand where time's got to get you know dispersed and evenly used and spared when possible. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So how often do you get out in the woods? Do you go as much as you can?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately at this time because I'm busy with work and everything. If the weekend's free and available, I take advantage of that. So I do take time off. I get so much PTO or time off. I'm able to schedule off, and um, there's usually most weekends, or I'll schedule a week off or a long weekend. When I can. Um, but lately I've been very busy and occupied with being scheduled for events that I've been speaking at. So it
Yeah.
takes up a lot of my weekends. So yeah.
You're staying busy, and I love that. What I really enjoy about, I've just met you tonight for the first time,
Oh yeah.
but I've done my research. Like I did my research on everybody, and I've heard of you. I'm very familiar with your name and your organization, but what I really appreciate is that you have a love for teaching people about Bigfoot and about the field research. Okay, and you've even written books about field research, and it's kind of a guide on
Right.
how to do it. Okay, and not a lot of people have done that or have gotten around to it, or I just really can appreciate that, and especially how you go and speak at a lot of conferences and things to educate people.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is, well, with my books in general, they're basically like most of my books. They're just research put together on paper. So it's basically it's one of my methods of sharing and spreading awareness by
Hmm.
putting the information out there. I'm not trying to convince anybody on my beliefs or my opinions, but I share
Right.
the research and where I'm coming up with my belief in what it is that I'm sharing. So better,
Yeah.
hopefully that people will at least consider it, and maybe learn to be a little objective, because that's one thing that's big about me. um yeah, especially this book right here, the Wildlife and Bigfoot Field Guide in an objective view, and that's exactly what it is. um I'm not a complete naysayer. I have to consider the other possibilities when we find things, or when we experience something or hear something. All these little minor experiences or details. So, because like when I take people out there, sometimes some of the people that don't get out there, I like to point out little things to look at or what to look for, and how to consider them on what they might possibly be. So, um,
Yeah.
and for the record, I like to tell people this, and I have to clarify this. I do this almost in the beginning of every presentation. Please
Yeah.
understand that I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form. So, but
I don't. None of us are.
right,
Daniel,
but
none of us are. And if anybody thinks they're an expert, then okay, good,
yeah, I mean, some of these,
good for them. But the more we learn, it's like the less we know. At least in my experience.
yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, some people, like for example, these event hosts, and it's funny. I have to laugh at it, but hope that others don't take it the wrong way, but they like to refer to the speakers as experts, so
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and that's okay. You know what? Well, an expert is just someone who knows a little bit more than the average person, I
oh
guess.
yeah.
So it's okay. But I don't consider myself an expert. I hardly ever know what I'm doing.
Right, because we're always
Right.
learning something new. There's always something new
Yeah.
that's going to pop up to consider, and all it's but it overall is fun. You got to, if you don't love what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah,
Exactly. And
you know,
I love what I do, and I'm sure you love what you do.
absolutely.
So
It's very
yeah.
rewarding, and by me saying it's rewarding, it's because you get to meet people, you get to encourage and inspire people at the same time, by especially young people. I'm going to tell you what, that's the biggest thing that does it for me right there. uh, One of my last events that I went to was at a library and down in the
Yeah.
mountains in Southwest Virginia. I wasn't expecting a big crowd at all, because this location, especially when I got there, I was like, man, there's nobody out here. But that library filled up, and there was a lot of young
Yeah.
people there, and I got the young people very well involved. It was all the young people that were answering the questions and responding, and but yeah, I mean, it's just the way they I don't know, they look at you. You're an inspiration to them because you're a Bigfooter, so
Yeah.
you know.
How is that? I want to say, how has it changed over the years? Because you've been doing this for a while. Do you think that it's a little more acceptable to be a Bigfoot field researcher these days than it was when you first started?
I would say yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. Because when you get, I guess this goes for anybody. I mean, I'm assuming I might be speaking for everyone that's involved, but I would feel it's safe to say that in the beginning you want to be public with it, but at the same time, you're not sure how people are going to accept it, and then you get to the point. Well, then again, for me, I don't care. I've been laughed, mocked, ridiculed. It
Oh
comes
yeah.
it comes with the territory. You got to expect that. But if
You
you're
have
gonna
to get a thick skin for
right,
sure.
but then by dealing with those people, let them ask questions, let them throw out their statement. You can actually learn and build off of that. You better, to better inform the misinformed.
Yeah.
Uh, famous questions asked by skeptics and non-believers. Well, if there's such a thing as Sasquatch, why haven't we found a body? There's answers. There's logical answers that will clearly specify that. But in most cases, with a question like that, I come back with a question. So
Yeah.
um, you just got to know the right question to ask. Sometimes if you come back with the right question, they won't even answer. They shut up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you have a very interesting story about your first experience with Bigfoot.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
could you tell me about that a little bit? Because you may or may not have seen a family of Bigfoots.
Well, yeah. Um, Now, for the record, this was during a camping outing. I wasn't
Mhm.
alone. I was with five other people, so there was six of us total. Um, yeah, we spent a lot of time during the daytimes exploring and just seeing what we could come across, looking for the various signs. Found a few interesting things. And this was actually the second night we were out there. But this particular day, it was May 3rd of 2014,
Wow.
and we decided after a long hike to come back to camp, just kind of chill and relax, and like we started talking about doing a night investigation. So yeah, I mean, we're here. Let's take advantage of the night. I mean, 'cause that's
I
when a
mean,
lot of nocturnal events.
that's the only kind of investigation is a night investigation, right?
Yeah,
And I'm
you
just
don't
kidding.
know. Oh, I mean, well, the thing is, it's more mysterious at night. You don't know what to expect. A lot of your wildlife's more active at night, so I mean, you're bound to see or something, or maybe hear something anyway. At least that's
Oh
what we
yeah.
hope for when we're hanging around at night. But um, so yeah, more specifically, we got together after spending some relaxed time at camp. As the evening was approaching, we decided to head out on foot. Now, in the area where we camped at, there is a lake that's in the area from the location where we were set up camp on foot. It was almost a mile from where we were. So we had headed out on foot. we decided
Mhm.
let's go to the lake, guys. I mean, I don't know. There was no particular reason. I thought it would be a good place to go search, or maybe check out. So we get down to the lake, and I was actually kind of relieved. I was like, "Oh, this is good. There's nobody down here because a lot of people like to get down there and they fish around the lake because they stock that lake." So again, there were six of us, and we decided to pair up in twos. And we had an older couple with us, Kimmy and Darren. They stayed at the beginning of the lake because there was a little peninsula. They actually had a bench there, so they stood there. Um, and then all along the going over across towards the back of the lake, every so many feet or yards, there's these little square docks, whatever, handicap accessible. So
Yeah.
basically, what we did while it was getting, it was still daylight left out there, but so we went out there, we spread out around there, and we all had radio communication. And it was me, my buddy Tracy. We both had our parabolic mics, but Tracy was paired up with his son that was probably about 13, 14 at the time. And then there was me and the other gentleman, Cliff Stanley.
Mhm.
We went a little further down. So yeah, we were all equally pretty well spaced out around that lake. Now keep in mind we're surrounded by mountains and ridges right there. So this lake is sitting down in a little bowl. Um, so we're hanging out there. We're not really hearing nothing. So I get on the radio. I communicate down to Kimmy. Now I have to. I love telling this little part of the story. Kimmy, she's a small lady. She's not big in any way, shape, or form. However, for those who are familiar with Bobo from Finding Bigfoot's vocalization that he likes to do, Bobo, well, excuse me, Kimmy, she does a excellent vocalization, and I compare it to Bobo's vocal because it's her version of Bobo, and she does an excellent job with it. So I got on the radio. I was like, Kimmy, we need one of your vocals, and then everyone
Yeah.
else remains silent. We're gonna listen afterwards. So she does her vocal, and then we go silent, and we're sitting there listening, and probably between 10, maybe 15 seconds, we get a response from the opposite ridge on the other side. And even though it wasn't really close, but it was loud enough to where we heard it, you could tell it was somewhere on the other side of that ridge line.
Mhm.
So that was exciting. That was something.
Yeah.
That's like her vocalization triggered something or made something respond.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, can't say it was Bigfoot. I mean, we didn't witness what did it, but it was still cool that we got that response. Um, and then now, keep in mind it's getting dark out. We're pulling out our headlamps. And yeah, me and Tracy, we got our parabolic mics out. We're listening. I mean, I'm hearing stuff on the ridge that's up behind us. You could hear something moving around. It's probably deer, whatever, maybe other wildlife. Um, it wasn't heavy footfall. Um, just minor, like scuffling in the leaves, or you might hear an occasional like little limb snap or something.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where Tracy's son was seeing something up there, and the way they described it was a set of red eyes looking down at him, and I guess it scared him to the point where it was making him sick in his stomach.
Oh,
And
was he
yeah,
scared? So he was
yeah,
scared that was making him nervous? Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, I believe that's what it was. Because like I said, he was a young teenager boy, and so like we've been there for a while. We weren't getting no other activity, so we decided, all right, yeah, it's getting late, guys. Um, let's regroup, which what exactly what we did. We regrouped, and then from there we headed back out to head back to camp. Now, keep in mind the smaller roadway that comes from the main forest road down to the lake. It's all gravel.
Oh,
It's total darkness. It's reaching midnight, and as we're headed out, we'll walk in a single file line. We're not trying to be quiet. Our goal is just to get back to camp. And as we're walking up, maybe halfway on that roadway, I start noticing some eye shine that's off to the right. Oh, it's deer. But what was interesting, this one main deer that we saw was very close to us. And it was just like acting nonchalant. Like, why ain't this deer scared? Is what I'm thinking. I said,
oh yeah.
we're like,
Because it was trying to get away from whatever that big thing was y'all were seeing. Probably.
well, Well, this is in the opposite direction. This is
Okay.
walking. Yeah, this is going away from that area. Because the deer was actually walking towards us on the side of the road by the tree line, and of course, eventually it kind of wandered off further into the darkness and disappeared. And so as we continue walking up, I'm scanning ahead just to look ahead because I got my headlamp on. Then all of a sudden, I'm looking up to my left, and it's like, what the heck is that? Something catches my attention, and the first initial thought. Now, keep in mind, in the national forest here, you see them in random places, and some of the places where these little metal yellow signs are, they usually
Hmm.
say no vehicles beyond this point. And the thing is, they're in places where it don't make sense why they're there, but that's exactly what I thought. I thought my headlamp was catching something, one of those little
Hmm.
metal yellow signs, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it became more into focus because it blinked. Then I realized it was a set of eye shine, and then the next one behind me was Tracy, my buddy Tracy. I said, Tracy, I said, what the heck is that? And we're both staring at it, and we saw it blink again, and then whatever it was zipped off, like it disappeared. And then Tracy got to the rest of the group. He's like, guys, get up here. We had some eye shine up here. We didn't know what the heck we were looking at. But the first thing I said to him, and I won't use words, but I was like, is that a freaking mountain lion? Because for
Hmm.
some reason, that's what I thought because it was kind of low. But we all got up to that spot where we saw that. And then I kind of realized the ground from the edge of the road is sloped down several feet and then leveled back out. And so we get up into that spot and we pick up that set of eye shine again. It's probably about a good 30, give or take, maybe 40. I'm going to say 30. Just I'll use 30, Um, but we're seeing the set of eye shine again and it's doing its constant like swaying motion side to side, kind of fast. And
Uh-oh.
yeah, like what the heck is this? Yellow. Now keep in mind the color is yellow. There's a
Okay.
like large yellowish looking eyes, and but it's sitting down low. We noticed whatever this was, was either sitting low or just was small to begin with. So we can't make out what it is because we're looking at, it's totally darkness after midnight here, and it's just without. I guess it was just outside of the beam of light. A couple of us had some bright headlamps, and you would think you would see more details, but it was so dark, and then the cool air of the evening, I guess it was slightly foggy, but not really foggy, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just cool mountain air.
Misty. It was misty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That cool mountain air settling down in the evening there, and but we're seeing the set of eye shine swaying side to side pretty fast, and I'm like, I don't know, I didn't know what to think. It was cool nonetheless, Um, but then after observing this one, well, 4 or 5 feet to the right, we see another set of eye shine. Same color eyes, but a little bit taller. And when I say a little bit taller, well, easily maybe another 2 feet taller than this one here. The small one, we estimated at that particular time, it had to been around 4 feet tall.
Hmm.
And the second set of eye shine that appeared it seemed like it appeared out of nowhere, was around 6 foot tall because it was
Yeah.
over. The eye shine was almost level from where we were standing. So because keep in mind we were on a little bit taller ground and it was down lower. But this set of eye shine, it wasn't moving, but you could see that it was clearly eye shine. It kept blinking its eyes, and they were fairly spaced apart, pretty decent. So now we have two subjects here. We're looking at the small one that's still steadily swaying side to side. Then we have a 6 foot one that's just standing there, blinking his eyes, not moving at all. And again, we don't know what in the world we're observing here. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
The thought of Sasquatch was not on my mind. It never came across my mind till a certain point. However, a couple of people that was with us were starting to talk and throw out some noises, you know, just to get idea. We didn't know. Like I said, we were kind of having fun with it because there
Uh-huh.
was nothing there that seemed as a threat. Nothing there seemed scary. It was just, you know, had us scratching our heads more or less. But then I was scanning around. I was looking around in the area the best I can, And just to the right of that, there were some thick bushes right there and some trees blended in there with the bushes. And I'm looking down, and something catches my attention. Down below on the bushes, I catch another set of eye shine, very low to the ground.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, guys, do you see that? There's another set of eyes down there. But I'm staring, my focus is on that set of eye shine because it's like
Mhm.
several feet from the second one. And all of a sudden, I'm staring at it and I'm trying to keep focus on it. It's like, what the heck is that? Then next you know, it gets taller, taller, like it's growing, like
Mhm.
it's raising up. And all of a sudden, it raises above the bushes. And all of a sudden, when it stops, we're looking at something very tall.
Yeah.
And this is another 2 feet taller than the 6 foot one. So now we got three subjects. I call them subjects when I share the
Right.
So we got a
Three
4 foot
giants.
subject,
Yeah.
yeah, and a 6 foot subject. Now we have this one here that's estimated to be around 8 feet tall. Okay,
Wow. That's pretty big.
well, yeah. I mean, I was like, what? And keep in mind, I still didn't think Sasquatch. Maybe somewhere in the back of my mind, it was starting to roll forward, but
Mhm.
all of a sudden, this one here had the same color eye shine. It blinked its eyes a few times on occasions,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, Tracy's like, Tracy was the first one to say this. He's like, guys, we got squatches. And I was like,
Sasquatches.
well,
Uh
yeah. I was
oh.
like I said at the time, I wanted to believe that, but I needed something to confirm that.
You're like, wait a second, Bigfoot here?
I mean, I
How
mean,
far? How far apart were the eyes? Did they look like they were wide set, or it couldn't have been a. Well,
well,
humans don't have eye shine like that, so
right, exactly.
yeah.
And the thing is, the eyes they had been, I don't know, at the distance that we were observing them, I would have to say they were maybe, I don't know, I hate giving a number measurement on the eye shine, but they weren't close like ours would be or a
Uh-huh.
bear. They're more, they were fairly wide.
Yeah.
Um, you know, they weren't close together. They were definitely spaced apart. So,
Hmm.
um, but something interesting happened. The tallest one that we were observing, keep in mind, it's total darkness. We're not seeing no physical details, no shapes whatsoever. But all of a sudden, this tall one had turned to its left, took a step or two, and then looked back right at us and blinked its eyes again.
Oh my gosh.
During this maneuver, like I said, I don't know if anyone else saw it. I think Kimmy mentioned later on that she said she saw the same thing.
Yeah.
Tracy was the main one I recall seeing what I saw. But when it made that maneuver, basically from above around from just below the chest on up, a whole shape of wide, broad shoulders and a big round head was made out.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
the only thing I could
Nice.
think of is the light must have caught it at the right angle when it made that maneuver. And when I saw that, okay, I was getting a little bit more pumped. I was getting actually excited. I didn't feel scared. I'll explain that in a little bit. But at that point, I knew for a fact these were not bears.
Mhm.
And I was convinced that these got to be squatches. These got to be squatches. What else? Because I know, and I'm familiar with every known piece of wildlife species that exists in these woods because I've been in these woods and I've seen almost everything you could think of. And it wasn't none of them. I couldn't think of anything,
Yeah.
you know. But
Uh.
after,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, after seeing this, yeah, I was totally convinced that these were squatches.
Now, do you protect yourself, as in carry a firearm when you're out in the woods? And I
I
I'm not gonna lie, I do.
oh yeah, oh yes,
Just because of the other threats of the mountain lions, and you just in the
absolutely,
snakes, you just don't know what you're gonna get out in
yeah.
the field.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I always carry it with me.
Hmm.
Regardless if it's hunting season or not hunting
Hmm.
season, I have a concealed permit here, and in the national forest up here, outside of hunting season, if you're going to carry, yeah, you have to have a concealed carry permit to hunt them because it's
Right.
federal land. So, um, anyway, after this observation, the three of them seemed to have turned off and went further into a darkness, and they they went off and disappeared. So after our observation, after they went away, we just turned off and started walking away and headed back to camp. But as we were walking, yeah, you could hear whatever they were stepping on. You could hear a limb snap, a few things here and there. Maybe they had stopped because we didn't keep hearing that, but we kept walking.
Hmm.
And I know Kimmy at one point it's like, guys, they're following us, they're paralleling us. I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But I didn't feel threatened by it, not once, because I feel like we caught them off guard. They
Hmm.
seemed to be as curious of us as we were of them. You know,
Wow. Yeah,
It's-
they always are. It seems like they're just as curious, and that's why I always encourage people, if you want to really get the full experience of experiencing Bigfoot out in the field, just set up a base camp, light a fire, have a campfire, and y'all just hang out there at night, and they'll come to your camp.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's one of the things I like to tell people when I bring them out there camping, because like one of the main spots I like to camp at is actually literally right around the corner. There's two primitive spots right around the corner from there, and I try to set up camp there because as you come into the entrance towards the lake, there's a set of bathrooms. So if I bring other
Yeah.
people out there, I like to make it convenient for
Oh
them.
yeah.
You
When you,
know, so
especially when you have newbies, you got to have a bathroom facility out there.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
It's not plumbing. It's basically a concrete
Oh yeah. It's
joint house.
something though. It's something.
Right, absolutely. So, but
Yeah.
that night, after observing that, we got back to camp and we were still talking about it. We were trying to wind down, and we were trying to debunk. We were still trying to debunk it, even though I felt convinced that what we observed was a family of squatches. Um, then here's the kicker: it's actually a disappointment. I'll
Okay.
say. Me and Tracy, we both had backpacks on, and inside of our backpacks, we both had night vision binoculars.
Oh
And
yeah. Nice.
not once did we ever think about bringing them out. And
Isn't that weird how that works?
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's one thing tell people like, well, if you had the equipment, why didn't you use it?
Yeah.
When you're caught up in a moment, especially you're not sure what you're looking at, and you're just focused on everything, and you don't think of the right thing to do.
That's
um,
that's always the case. And it's like when you have a moment where you could get a picture or something like that, your batteries die. Okay.
well,
Or
here's
you just
another thing that
everything's
happened.
blurry.
Cliff Stanley that was with us. I didn't know this till after it was all done, but he had his camcorder out recording the whole time. And I
That's
was excited
great.
when I learned about that. I got very excited. I couldn't wait to view the footage and share it and show people what we saw. But when he did that, the film didn't pick up nothing. It just showed
Oh
us.
yeah.
Yeah, it showed most of us, like because we were excited. It showed our excitement, and it showed you could hear a couple of us like trying to make a response or make vocals to trigger a response. Because we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to act. We were just kind of caught up in the moment. It was exciting, and the thing is, as far as not feeling that sense of fear,
Hmm.
as far as I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I guess because there was other people there, I wasn't alone. So I guess I felt that sense of security. I felt protected. I don't know. I mean, I just didn't feel scared. Um, yes, there's been other moments I felt scared in that very same area, just around a corner, a year later. But because I was completely by myself.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll go ahead and speak about that real quick.
Were you using yourself as bait?
No, I wouldn't say that, but
You're
actually,
inadvertently bait, probably. You just didn't know it.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I was camping out. It was the fall of 2015. It was the hunting season, and in those two little spots I told you that I ran around the corner, I was in the smaller spot of the two, which is up around from less. It was a little bit less than a quarter mile around, or just around the curve a little bit.
Okay.
And there was one time I was camping out there. Like I said, it was hunting season, and I was there, and I was sitting there at camp. It was quiet. There was not no animals, nothing. I was just, and it was so quiet. I was bored. I was like, I got to get up and move around because I had a fire going. I had my blazer sitting right there, my shotgun leaning up against it, and so I decided to get up, grab my spotlight, and I didn't turn it on, but I took it and I walked out to the middle of the forest road. And when I got up to the forest road, I didn't turn it on yet. I was in the middle of the forest road, and I don't know why I do this on occasions. You know, it doesn't matter what area I camp in out there, but I look up and down the road, like I'm looking in total darkness, and you know, at this time it's around 10 o'clock at night. And keep in mind, this is right around the corner from where the 2014 encounter took place. So I start shining my spotlight over to my left, and as soon as I do that, I must have spooked up a deer because a deer, like you could hear it, like jump up and run off real quick. I said, "Oh, cool! I kicked up a deer. You know, I spooked one." So I continued panning my spotlight from left to right, kind of slow, you know, because I was taking my time trying to look through the woods. It was kind of thick in there.
Uh-huh.
And as I approach, I want to say around the 1 o'clock position, approaching the 2 o'clock position, I come to a stop. Because as soon as I got to that position with a spotlight, something inside that tree line, keep in mind from where I was, the tree line was only about 20 feet from me.
Okay.
Something just inside that tree line, something very large, something very heavy, and I will tell you without doubt it was bipedal. Because what I heard next was bipedal footsteps walking away from me, and every step it took had a heavy crunch and a thump to it for whatever it was stepping and landing, you know, on. And when I heard this, because it was like right there, my heart was actually going up in my throat because it was huge. You could hear the mass, you could hear the weight of every step it took. When
Oh
I
yeah.
heard this, I immediately started backing up. And with the opposite hand that was not on the spotlight, I started reaching down to my belt loop, to my keys, and started making sure the vehicle was unlocked because the thought was running through my head. I'm like, I might have to get out of here. But
Yeah.
when I got back into camp, I actually threw a couple more logs in the fire, and I actually relaxed and calmed down. Um, I started thinking about what I just heard, and I realized like what I was hearing was something very heavy and apparently large. It was going away from me. It wasn't coming after me. If it meant any harm, I think I would have been a goner then and there.
Yeah.
It could have rushed out of out of that tree line and probably,
Yeah.
you know, tackle me or whatever, you know. But it wasn't no threat. It walked away from me. Apparently, I interrupted it, and now when I say I interrupted it, I compare the two situations from 2014 and this situation. Remember how I spoke? There was deer present at both ones,
Yes.
and I keep thinking about that. Was that a coincidence, or did I interrupt their hunt? That's
I
something.
don't,
That's something I
I don't
question
think there are
myself
any
about.
coincidences. Yeah. Speaking of them being very large, you have some incredible pictures
Mm-hmm.
of tree structures. And so
Mm-hmm.
I would love to pull a couple of those up tonight to
Oh
show the
yeah, yeah,
audience because I'm thoroughly impressed by these, Daniel.
absolutely.
And let's see the first one here. I mean that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Now that's in my research area, but this is probably a few miles from where my encounter took place. This was a teepee type structure that I found very interesting. I was probably about a mile and a half, you know, from where I parked into the woods and where I found this. This structure here, I can tell you, you can't see it from here, but just beyond there, there is a stream that runs through there. Um, and that's one thing. Some of these structures and formations are always, not oh, well, I shouldn't say always, but
Mhm.
most of the time near a water source. And then in some incidents, you'll find structures or formations in a cluster pattern.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes that's not always the case, but a majority of the time, yes. I, through my observation, I find a lot of structures or formations in a general cluster.
And do
But
you think that's a territorial thing?
I believe that could be a possible territorial thing. A lot of the structures or formations that I do come across, I can't prove or make fact of what they are, but I can tell you what I believe they are. So, yeah, in some instances, I believe this could be a sign of territorial. Um, it could be a marker. Some of the tree breaks and bends that we find, which I'm also very objective on, but a lot of people believe that they could be a directional towards a water source.
Yeah.
Only, you know, because a lot of people like to compare Sasquatch to Native Americans in a way, and Native Americans were famous for doing that, bending trees into a direction of water source or whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Is this a person standing by this structure?
yes, that's
I
actually
could not. I couldn't
That's
tell if that was a person or not. That is a
I
huge tree structure.
yeah, I had well, she was underneath directly. I have other images of her sitting directly underneath, but that's my Jessica there. But
Wow. I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't look that big until you compare a person standing next to it. That's
yeah.
huge.
This tree structure was actually up on the Skyline Drive, which was up on top of the Blue Ridge Mountains, um,
Yeah.
which we decided to do some exploring up there. Because she actually took me to a place where he learned or heard of a Bigfoot sighting. Actually, it was probably a few miles before we got to this spot. And yeah, we actually found a shelter type structure in the area where she said there was a Bigfoot sighting at. Um, but yeah, this here blew our minds right here because all the trees are basically planted. They've just been pushed over the crisscrossing and twine
Mhm.
where they meet. Yeah, we were definitely blown away by this one right here, and that's I love finding these. I call them
Yeah.
teepee structures. They're the main ones that fascinate me and blow me away. But yeah, I was impressed by this. I know she was. So
Yeah.
so
That is, I mean, when I focused in and I was like, is that a person? I mean, it really didn't look that big until I saw her standing there. So
yeah,
amazing find. I love these TP structures. I just think they're amazing. And
yeah, absolutely. And like this one in particular, if you take the time to look at each tree, you could tell something with strength had to push these together.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, a human can't. I just don't think a human can do that. I mean,
I
I
honestly don't believe so.
no, I have a hard time picking up logs for the fireplace. Okay.
Right, right, absolutely.
I'm not the strongest person in the world, but I mean, I'm not weak, and wood is very heavy.
Yeah, especially
Uh,
these. Like I said, the roots are still in the ground on these trees. So
really?
yes, the roots are still in the ground.
Wow. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Well, that's a great find. I really like that. Now you also
absolutely.
have some really cool tracks,
Oh yeah,
some footprints here, and I really like those prints. There's a couple of them, and you can really see the toes. It looks like the pinky toes kind of out a little
yeah.
ways. You can tell that the toes are spread out. I can appreciate that
Well, the only explanation for the spread out toes. Well, look at this. Look at where it's at. The mud.
in the mud, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Even deer, their hoofs get spread out, or really
Yeah,
spread
we
when
it
they
gets a
step in the
little
mud.
smushy out there.
But this one here, I wish I had put something next to this. I didn't want. Sometimes when I find tracks, sometimes I'll put my foot next to it. To use it as a scale or
Yeah.
reference. But this was very soft right here, and I had to say this was around 17, 18 inches right here. I
It's
know
pretty.
looking at the picture, it doesn't do much justice, but this was around 17 to 18 inches. So
Wow, that's pretty big. I mean, I
absolutely.
have I have big feet for a lady, but they're not that big.
Right.
They're pretty
Yeah.
big. I have trouble finding shoes sometimes, but it's not that big. So,
Right.
yeah. And yeah, is this on the same track line or is this another
No,
one?
this was back at the lake because the other track you just showed that was actually probably about half hour, 45 minutes away into another area
Okay.
a little bit closer to the West Virginia in a different area. For the
Yeah.
record, my research area is only 6 miles from the West Virginia line.
Oh,
Depend
okay.
Depends on which way you go. But this one here was actually at the lake itself. My father and I found this together because we were fishing right there, and where this is, it, I don't know if you can tell, but there's actually tire marks right there, and the tire marks are
Yeah.
from the Forest Service Department because they're the only vehicles allowed to go back there. There's Forest
Really?
Service and the ones that drive back there to stock the lake. But yeah, this was, and you can't tell on the track, but I mean, if I was able to show, there is a area where the heel starts and where the toes come up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this here was another big track that was probably around 17, 18 inches. So
Wow.
now most of the
Nice.
tracks I find, a majority of them average 13 to 15. But this one and the last one was probably one of the biggest I've ever found. So
Wow.
yeah.
Nice. Well, you have to have a good eye to spot good tracks like that. So,
Well, anytime
that's
there's
awesome.
exposed soil, dirt, mud, or around creek beds,
Mhm.
streams, that's one of the places I love to look at because you just never know. So,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah,
find a lot of your other wildlife around these areas, why not Bigfoot?
exactly. Well, and here's another question I have for you. Are
Yeah.
there other cryptids in the area that you know of, or do you just mostly focus on Bigfoot? But have you heard local legends and lore of different cryptids in your area?
I have keep an open ear on that stuff. But now the thing is, when I'm out here exploring, I'm always looking for tracks. Period, and I have never found anything outside of what is known versus the unknown. As far as Bigfoot, that's the only thing I've come across. I haven't found anything that um, stands apart otherwise. So, but I mean, if I do come across something that's unexplainable, or I would definitely document it by all means,
Yeah.
and I won't deny what it might be, but so
Right.
um,
And you keep an open mind about everything, which is key to the research. Now,
I try.
yeah. Well, in your opinion, there's really kind of two camps, right? With the Bigfoot researchers, and there's the people that lean more to like the BFRO side, and it's all very scientific, but
Right,
it's more of just like kind of flesh and bone, and looking for something that's just solid and not supernatural. And then there's
right.
the other camp that is like it's supernatural. Where
Yeah.
do you stand in those? Is it in between those two camps somewhere?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I do stand, and a lot of people probably like, I don't want to say hate me for this, but
Yeah.
I
Nobody's
have
going to
to,
hate you for
right.
anything here. Okay.
Well,
We're very open minded.
well, that's good. Well, for the time being, I have to stand on the flesh and blood side of things.
Mhm.
I'm not going to deny what other people claim or believe because I got some really close friends that have an open mind or actually claim to have experienced some of these mysterious, mystical things, and I just have not. And so, I mean, till experience or see something otherwise, I have to stand where I'm at right now and continue to work in that field. Um, but I do keep an open mind to where I consider that may be true, but
Yeah.
I just haven't seen anything to say otherwise right now. I mean,
Well, it's all about our experiences. And so you're like me. I can only speak from the things that I've experienced. And
right?
I've experienced some weird stuff. Okay. So
Oh
so
yeah,
I'm more on the paranormal supernatural side of the spectrum, but I also believe it's also flesh and bone and that kind of thing. So I'm
right,
kind of, I keep an open mind too, Daniel. Okay. And so, and I love hearing everybody's opinion, everybody's research. It's all valid, and who's to say who's right and who's wrong? And
right,
it's all about the research. And man, you're boots on the ground out there, and you are educating people, and you're doing your thing. Okay. And I commend you. So,
So
so
yeah, I
that,
mean, like with what I tell people too, like especially in presentations, I'm a wildlife and Bigfoot researcher, and I always
yeah,
specify. I said, please note that I put wildlife before Bigfoot, and it goes with my phrase I like to share. My saying is, know what is known before seeking the unknown. Because a lot of people go out there with Bigfoot constantly on the mind, so everything they
yeah,
see, they give Bigfoot credit without
totally.
considering or the our what our known species are responsible for doing. I mean, a lot of what like broken trees and tree breaks and stuff like that. People don't realize bears are notorious for that, especially up here. We have a lot of black bears. I've had plenty encounters and experiences with black bears. I know
Hmm.
what they do. I've seen their tracks. We got some big bears up here. I've
Oh
encountered their
yeah.
tracks as well. So, but yeah, it's always very important. You need to understand and learn your known wildlife. You know,
Yes,
and
totally.
everything else will stand apart. So
I agree. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been out in the woods and I've heard squirrels running around and they sounded like a Bigfoot. Okay. So it's all about like the situational awareness, knowing what kind of animals are in the environment and in that region. So you can get a good idea of what you're listening to and what you're hearing out there.
Right, absolutely.
We have a wildlife biologist on my team who knows every animal noise.
Oh yeah.
And every like I was to say vegetable, every plant that's out there, he can tell you what
Right.
everything is, and so it's just valuable to have people on your team that can identify stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
well, one of our last outings, I tell you, it was a blessing to have my friends David and his wife Melissa. Because when we did our field exploring, Melissa, David's wife, she knew all the plants. I mean, there was some plants I've seen out there for years. I didn't know what they're called, but she it was awesome because she was educational to me. Like that is
Yeah.
this is this here's edible, this here's not. You know, I was like, man. I mean, my focus is on wildlife and Bigfoot, you know, and yeah, it's I do try to study the ecology, the you know, and the environment, but yeah, I mean, she knows her plants, you know, so that was awesome. So you know,
Yeah. That is awesome. Now she knows her plants. You know your stuff, and you're going to be speaking at some Bigfoot conferences coming up and some events. And we have a few more minutes tonight, but I don't want to. I don't want to leave any of this out tonight. So I figure maybe we
okay,
can touch on some of the books you've written, the shows you've been on, all
okay.
that kind of stuff. So let's start off with your E.C.B.R.O story. Okay, the elusive legend. What is this?
Now this is the first Bigfoot film documentary I've ever been featured in, and yes, it was mainly about me and my research, even some of my experiences. During this film, when this was taking place, we actually were exploring, and we actually picked up a couple things. Well, one more specifically was we had a scream that came from one of the opposite ridges from where we were camped at, and yeah, it was interesting. It's in the video. You have to really listen. The
Yeah.
the producer, he did what he could to enhance it the best he could, but we heard it in person like it was like right over there across from the river, you know. But it came from the opposite ridge, and but it was cool. But yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
it's there's other stories from others that were there that participated with us. They shared their stories and encounters, so there's some pretty interesting stories involved with that film. So
Yeah, we'll have to
yeah,
check that out. And then
yeah.
you have another project that you were in called the Shawnee Sasquatch, the hunt for the
Yes,
Shawnee Sasquatch. That looks really cool.
yes, this was filmed out in the state of Illinois, where we joined my good friend Zach Sterick and his team, the Southern Illinois Monster Hunters.
Oh,
Where me, you can see me on the left, and my Jessica on the far right in the picture. So,
nice.
so
Very
yeah,
cool. Shout
we,
out to Jessica one more time.
yeah, absolutely,
Nice.
yeah, we drove a good 10 hours out to Illinois from Virginia and set up camp, and we actually had a really great time doing that film. And at the end of that film, well, we took some thermal footage while we were out there at night, and I'm not going to say that it is, but I'm not going to say that it's not. But what I picked up on the thermal image, they show it at the very end of that video, and
Okay.
and whatever it was, I could tell you it was not in the area earlier when I was scanning the area, but there was something large in that area that my thermal picked
Yeah.
up. So you guys could
Cool.
definitely check that out.
All
Um,
right. Well,
so
we've also got the well, just so we don't run out of time. We've got I believe in Bigfoot. This is a film. Now you were a part of this film too.
yes, this film
Okay.
here has got some well-known researchers involved with this. This is coming out in 2023. I myself myself, Michael Cook of Cryptid Research is involved with this. Ronald J. Moorhead, for those who know him. David,
Absolutely. He's a
yeah,
friend of the
David
show.
Picara, yeah,
Yeah. And he's with
yeah.
the Bigfoot Museum here in Georgia, right? He's
Uh, David Picara, yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a
So
great museum, everybody. Y'all should go check it out, everybody.
yes,
Right.
we think this is going to be huge, but like I said, it's coming out in 2023. So
Nice. Well, we're gonna check that out. And also Hometown Haunts. You've been a part of this.
yes, this is a new TV series. Hometown Haunts is going to be a series coming on Paraflix. Paraflix is a TV network just like Netflix, but it's going to be a series. And I was filmed for the very first episode, uh,
Cool.
the Beast of Elkhorn Lake. So
All right. All right.
yeah,
Well,
so
I'm looking forward to seeing that one and also Trekking Sasquatch.
yes, this is a new another Bigfoot film documentary that's coming out in 2023. Katie Elizabeth, I'll actually be speaking with her this month in Virginia. She's coming down from Maine, I believe it is, to be talking about Lake
Okay.
Champlain. So
Nice.
yeah,
All
so
right. Well, we're looking forward to seeing that too. And okay, and so now you got some conferences. You have a conference coming up that you're going to be speaking at. That is in a couple of weekends.
yeah, I'm very excited for this one. I think it's going to be huge. My buddy of mine that puts us on, Mike Hughes, the owner of Cryptid HQ. You can find that on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Cryptid
Um,
headquarters.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, I myself, Katie Elizabeth, Lyle Blackburn, for those who know him.
Oh
and
yeah.
then Zach Bales and Leah Fisher, or she's a cryptid author on children's books. So yeah, we got a great lineup for this. I'm looking forward to this. This is gonna
Oh
be
yeah. You're a speaker.
contest. Yeah, there I am. My beard's a lot shorter in that picture that he used, but
Oh yeah. That's
so
awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
And you also have the Sasquatch or the Squatch Fest coming up October. So everybody, please, y'all go to that because this is actually sponsored by E.C.B.R.O.
And also, yeah, it's hosted by us, but it's sponsored by Broken Branch Designs, which is my Jessica's company business. So
Oh
they,
wow.
they sell
Okay.
everything Sasquatch. So it's a family business they own. And yeah, so this is one of the events that we host every October, as well as our event that we host every June for the annual Virginia Bigfoot Conference.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a
Well,
lot of
that's
excitement going on.
well, okay. Well, everybody check them out. If you've got a website, go to that to sign up if you're in the Virginia area. And also, before we go tonight, I wanted to flash up your YouTube channel for everybody to
Okay.
go subscribe. A Bigfoot Zone with parentheses E.C.B.R.O. So
Yes,
everybody, please go subscribe to Daniel's website or to his YouTube channel. Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. And okay. And Daniel, you also have a podcast, right?
Yes, it's through Anchor, but you can hear us on any of your favorite platforms: iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
So,
awesome. Okay, so everybody just follow Daniel Benoit on East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization. And Daniel, it has been so much fun talking to you tonight. You have some great stories,
well, thank you.
and I enjoyed having you here tonight. And I hope you'll come back and visit us again here
Yeah,
off the trails, where we go off the rails.
awesome. Could I throw one more thing out there real quick?
Absolutely.
For all you barbecue fans, I really want to make sure you guys check out www.soss There we go.
I've got it.
You guys got to check out this website. He has the website set up, but if you want to order some, you got to just contact him through the website. These flavors that he has are not like any others. They're phenomenal, and you could. I mean, I enjoy them on almost everything there is on this earth that you can eat. So
I mean, it sounds tasty. Anything with squatch in the name, it's got to be good, right?
it's,
Sasquatch.
I'm telling you, it's making
Sasquatch.
some, yeah, it's
Yes.
making some headlines, and
Okay.
yeah, you got to get you some. I promise.
Support your local Sasquatch enthusiast, everybody. Okay.
Absolutely.
And support Daniel. And Daniel, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We'll be seeing you again soon and have fun and good luck at all your conferences coming up. I know you're gonna have
Absolutely.
some good turnouts.
Yes,
Okay. All
indeed. Thank
right.
you. I really
Okay,
had
Daniel.
fun.
Thank you. You have a good evening. It was great meeting you.
You
Okay.
too.
Okay. Bye, Daniel. All right, y'all. That was awesome. Don't forget, right after the show, you can join the After Hours crew. They're going to take you on an incredible, mysterious journey for the next 3 hours tonight. Next time on Off the Trails, my guest is paranormal researcher Barry Littleton. We're going to be talking about mutant Sasquatch species like the Gugway and the Dewey Lake Monster. I can't wait to see y'all then. But for now, I'm the cryptid huntress, Jessica Jones. I'm headed off the trails. And After Hours is next. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. Y'all have a good night.